Am I in? Yes! Done it again, Sparrow. No firewall. It's too powerful for me. Okay. Now I just gotta figure out how to get into all these secure files. I think we'll be good. Is that camera on? Oh shit, what window is that in? Is this a live video call? By any chance? Kind of looks like it might be. Hi. Wasn't planning for that, but I guess that's what you get. Forget about what I said before. Looks like I'm the only one broadcasting on this call, so lucky, I guess. Now why are we on a call? That's another question I have to answer. This guy has too many windows open. This guy being me, I guess. Oh, okay. You're an induction class for trainee researchers. Right, yes. I remember now. Looks like Dr. Richardson is he's gonna be off today. He's had a bit of a bit of an accident. He'll be all right. Just give him a couple weeks and he'll be right as rain. But is that here for employee training? Yep, that's correct. That's what we're doing. I'm taking over for Dr. Richardson, who is indisposed. It's a good opportunity, actually, for both of us. Let me just change that name real quick. It's not Dr. Richardson. There we go. That's who I am. Dr. Arlo Sparrow. A researcher at the SCP Foundation. Taking over just for today, you know? Just while we can get you all situated and ready to work at the SCP Foundation, which I know all about because I work here. Right, so I hope you left some training notes because it was a bit sudden, me taking this call over, but I guess it's fine. Just let me have a little look around. All of these tabs this guy has open. You'd think he'd shut his computer down before leaving work and close all these tabs, but no. No, he didn't. Oh shit, how much time do we have? Let me just check real quick. Okay, I think we have about an hour, so try and make this nice and quick. I don't know what that word means, sorry. You also here for the, I assume, I'm just gonna assume that you're here for the training. Right. Sorry, just let me organize all these files. So, looks like didn't exactly leave a lesson plan, but I have a really good idea that's, you know, an opportunity for both of us to learn some stuff, for all of us to learn some stuff. It's important though, it's important. Training, very important. There's a lot of stuff we have to learn. You know? Okay, You're right. It's not. I don't know how to fix that. It's not displaying. You know what? We're gonna really tab off and back in. Just 1 second. Maybe that'll fix it, maybe it won't. Maybe I'll just have to turn the chat thing off. I'm not super familiar with all this type of technology, you know? I'm a fully professional scientist, 100%. I promise you. I worked here for at least multiple years. I can promise you that much. This technology is a little... you know, they could stand to update the system a little bit, considering how much funding this place gets. They could give us computers that are from beyond the dawn of time, but... Actually, what time is it? October 2021. No, we can work with that. You know what, technology? Fine for the time. I definitely knew what day it was. You know, I've had a rough week. My field? Chemistry. No, I'm joking with you. I don't do that. No, I do. It's classified. The things that I do are classified, okay? You'll learn in this organization that they really love to put blockades in front of your knowledge about what things are happening. So that information is between me and the higher ups. I'm okay. I'm fine. Just a little pressed for time is all. Yep, we're good, I think. I hope not. That would be unfortunate and embarrassing if I did smell like beef. So, okay, let's get on with this course, because I also need to look at things. So, you know what? We're gonna... Oh, you know what? I know why... I just realized I'm stupid. It's fine. Okay. Let's get on with education, shall we? I love teaching. That's what I signed up to do with my degree. So, you know what? This is a great opportunity. I'm gonna tell you about the apocalypse, which is not happening right now. But it could be sometime in the future. We don't know when, so it's always good to be prepared and ready for when that time does come. And it will come. So keep an eye on the time, because it's always very important to know when it might be happening. So we're going to have a look at some proposals from people who also work here. Let's just have a read through one of them, and I'll show you a few different things, and we can have a little discussion about what we might like to do in that sort of situation, shall we? Let's do that. I think that would be a good idea. And now I just have to figure out how to get into this document. You know, he didn't leave me his password, so I'll just give me 1 second. Okay, I think we're in. You know, just switching the login and all. Okay. Let me get this up on screen for you. So this is formatted like a story, but could happen. So I want you to think about while we're reading through this. What would you do in a situation like this, or any other that may occur in an apocalypse scenario? The keyboard, mechanical keyboard, you know, as what I said about upgrading the technology, it's not, just really not enough. It's, mechanical keyboard's so loud. Anyway, this is a SD Lux proposal. Let's have a really quick read through it. Let me just, with a quick check. Yep, still good, still good. Okay. Right, let me put on my actor voice for this one. This is a SD Lux proposal. That's a little bit loud. Why is this so damn loud? This guy really like interesting music. There we go, that's better. You find the access tunnel hidden within a natural cave a mile off the main road. You don't need the keycard. The door is ajar. It smells here. It smells like them. Hopefully they've moved on. You've come so far already. You can't turn back now. There's a slick trail that leads from the cave entrance and into the depths of the site. If it's blood or shit or something that's smeared off one of those things, you cannot tell. You make a point to avoid it. This is the door. Ajar. You're still receiving the distress signal. It only started broadcasting yesterday. Whoever it is, you pray they're still alive. Your footsteps echo throughout empty corridors. Each footfall sounds, for all the world, like a dozen, as if you're not treading through the dark alone. Elevator is down, so you take the stairs, ending on floor B5, Cato holding. You pass several empty containment chambers. The horrors they once held are long gone, if you're lucky. The trail takes you to an office, branching off the main hall, the source of the signal. The door is cracked open, but stuck. You plant your feet, push with all your might. Something skitters out of one of the rooms to your left and around the corner before you can get a good look at it. Your first thought is dog. It was on the ceiling though. You take refuge in the room, slam the door behind you. It's dark here. You're safe. You take off your jacket and head wrap. Be a damn shame to die from something like hypothermia after all that's happened. The sole operating emergency light rotates in its casing, casting a pale orange glow across the room every other second, as if the room itself had a pulse. There's shelving haphazardly placed behind the door, a barricade. You scan the room. Soiled clothes, half-eaten food. Despite the presence of an adjoining restroom, there's excrement in a bucket in the corner. A pneumatic chamber in the northern wall would have been delivering consumables to the occupant. The trail terminates in the corner of the room, forming a sick puddle. You spot 3 pharmacy bottles. Further inspection reveals them to be various opioids. They're all empty. There's a desk with a computer atop it. Approaching the terminal, you can clearly see the blinking light of the power button. You take a seat and turn it on. Don't worry, obviously I've been cleared to show you this material. It's just a proposal. It couldn't be that classified, could it? Don't worry, anything I'm showing you, I'm definitely allowed to show you. If you're going to be working here, you need to know these things, right? Emergency protocol activated. Clearance level safeguards removed. Full access granted. Secure, contain, protect. Loading. You hear footsteps just outside the door. Every first step comes down heavy. The second drags behind it. Loading. Authenticating. A dark shape blots out the light streaming in through the slit between the floor and the doorway. Authenticating. Authenticating. You tense up. waiting with bated breath, praying it will pass. You damn the deafening thumping of your heart for betraying your position. Please wait. Please wait. Please wait. The shadow recedes. You breathe a sigh of relief, just as the screen comes to life. Opening file. Automated Secure System Notification Code 235, ASSN 235. There has been an error in retrieving the current iteration of the SCP-001 file. You are currently viewing revision number 3. Newer revisions can be accessed at the bottom of this page. Let me bring that out. Revision 3.12, updated 1312 days ago. Item SCP-001. Object Class Apollyon. Special Containment Procedures. Due to its nature, SCP-001 cannot be contained. Survivors of the SCP-001 event stationed within secure facilities are to remain in contact with one another. Personnel are encouraged to attempt to reach Site 5. Personnel are to be reminded that there is no Site 5. Site 19, by any means at their disposal. Personnel with knowledge as to the whereabouts of the O5 Council are to relay this information to the Administrator. Let me just take a note here. Site 505. Just for reference later. Survivors attempting to travel outdoors must fully cover their bodies in protective clothing, preferably several layers. Travel by foot should be limited as much as possible. Cities and man-made structures in general provide the greatest protection. Formerly wooded areas should be circumvented. Travel by air is preferable above all other methods. Sorry, the Wi-Fi in this location is not so good. You may have to reconnect to the call a few times. Personnel exposed to SCP-001 are to be considered lost. Compromised personnel are to be abandoned. Euthanization is not to be attempted. Collective instances of SCP-001-A that are of formidable size are to be avoided at all costs. Conductive electrical weapons have proven particularly effective at immobilizing instances and may be used for self-defense. Incendiary weapons work as well. Cryonic munitions are the most effective thus far. Testing has revealed that SCP-001-A is relatively safe to consume. This is only to be considered as a last resort in the absence of other options. As SCP-001-A may reconstitute within the digestive system, only small portions could be consumed at a time to prevent blockage. Personnel stationed... I've had a long week. Personnel stationed at Site 19 are to pursue research concerning off-world colonization. Shuttles must be constructed as to not allow light to penetrate the interior. Those of you with families, or God forbid, children, I'm deeply, deeply sorry. You must push on. Do not let their deaths be in vain. We do still have time. Humanity may still have a future. Come to Site 19. We need all the hands we can get. Learn to embrace the darkness, friends. Fear the light. The Administrator. Description: SCP-001 is a designation given to the Sun after an event on data lost, resulting in 6.8 billion casualties within the first 24 hours. This event has been categorized as an XK... is it Delta class? I'm not so familiar with the classification system. solar singularity scenario. The SCP-001 effect does not seem to result from exposure to ultraviolet rays, but rather light in the visual spectrum around 390 to 700 nm. Excuse me. The effect is similarly present in moonlight. Upon contact with visible light produced by the sun, living organisms liquefy at the point of contact, with the effect spreading until the entire organism is converted. Visually, this is reminiscent of melting wax. The time this takes is largely dependent on the level of exposure and size of the organism. Despite this restructuring, at no point do living organisms perish. This is just a proposal? Well, for now. As I said earlier, any of this could happen at any time. So keep an eye on the time. Upon completion, these organisms, SCP-001-A, take on a gelatinous consistency. Motile organisms will attempt to orient themselves in a fashion reminiscent of their previous form, to varying degrees of success. Flora typically remain physically inert, yet are still capable of photosynthesis, and still produce oxygen. Organisms capable of flight lose the capability to do so. Fauna remain sentient and display behavior that parallels their non-anomalous counterparts when not absorbed into a collective instance. Humans may retain a modicum of sapience and memory. Biological anomalies exposed to SCP-001 are affected in the same manner. It seems that exposure nullifies any previously expressed anomalous characteristics. You think the janitor has wandered in? Hey, you know what? I don't know who's meant to be in this meeting. Maybe the janitor is intending to be learning about these things as well. It's important that everyone knows, okay? It's important that you keep this in mind. This could happen anytime. Any of this could happen anytime. Due to their composition, instances of SCP-001-A that make contact with one another may combine and blend at the molecular level. This does not seem to cause any pain or distress to the instances, though the resulting bulk can inhibit movement. Since the SCP-001 event, most instances have congregated into such collectives, which seem to possess no maximum volume. The resulting biomass is amorphous and chaotic. The component organisms will shift between a full to semi-liquid state. Limbs and bodies will rise periodically from within the mass for a short duration, before deteriorating and being subsumed by another life form. Collective instances will locomote by using their appendages in tandem to carry their mass. Larger instances will form a pseudopod from their constituent life forms, and drag themselves about in a manner similar to amoeba. Looks like there was an audio log here, but it appears to have been transcribed. Luckily we have automatic access, which is nice. It's a good thing I do a little bit of acting in my time. A harsh static lashes out of the speakers when you open the file. It disturbs the stillness of the room, catches you off guard, and quickens your heart's pace. There's some handling noise as the recorder adjusts their microphone. A brief moment of silence passes, and then... this is Dr. Logan Igota, level 3 researcher. There's a quiver in her voice that betrays her attempts at professionalism. She pauses, takes a deep breath, and continues. Due to Site-46's possession of several communicable info hazards, we've been cut off from the rest of the network under blackout protocol. As such, I'll be updating this as we come across new information. On the bright side, we are actually still receiving transmissions from a few sites. A good number of personnel have made it seems. Some are planning to make a break for 19, some are trying to fight the dash, as some, like us, are simply biding their time. Our site is sealed for the time being. We're not ready for the journey. At least not yet. She sighs. What does SCP mean? Well, SCP stands for Secure, Contain, Protect. It is... we are a foundation that collects anomalous things. That's the easiest way to put it. Sometimes that's living things, sometimes that's non-living things. But they all have anomalous properties, and usually need to be kept away from the general public for their safety and the, general safety of the world as a whole, I was gonna say, you work for this organization. I don't know how much they induct you before this. Okay, my job is not like in training. It's a bit... Dr. What's-his-face, it really shouldn't have, just sort of left this to me. But, you know how it is, so... I don't know how many things you had to read, but I'm pretty sure you had to, sign a lot of things that said you agreed to, that you knew what you were doing when you joined this foundation. But it's honestly not my business if you actually read them or not, if you just signed them. It's probably not good for you, but, it doesn't really affect me, so... Nobody give me anything to read or sign. You know what? You may be right, we may have a janitor in our midst right now. But it's still important for you to know these things, so... Okay? So, I know they wipe people's memories sometimes. We wipe people's memories sometimes, and, maybe that'll... it's not my business. I've got to tell people what I got to tell people. That's my job, right? Anyway, back to the proposal. We experienced a containment breach a few days ago. One of the higher maintenance humanoids broke loose. Son of a bitch compromised containment on half a dozen caters and ran off. There's a woman laughing. I don't know where it's coming from. This guy's computer is really weird. They didn't make it more than 5 feet from the tunnels before collapsing in a soup. I watched it play out on the cams. It didn't take long for them to get back up. Like 7 yeah, I figured they do a lot of paperwork here. It's a big paperwork. They're big on paperwork. We are big on paperwork. I also had to sign these things. But it was like several years ago, at least a few years ago, that I had to do that. So maybe there's more nowadays. Maybe there's less. Probably, it's probably classified. I probably can't say. Anyway, she stops again, mutters to herself incomprehensibly, before you hear the unmistakable sound of a match strike. She exhales audibly. Much better. Not exactly a designated smoke area, but what the hell, right? She clears her throat. Commander Anand suited up and went to town on them the next day, tried to drive him off. Didn't turn out very well, poor bastard. We did learn a thing or two, at least. Pause. Exhale. There's only a few of us left here. I'm holed up in one of the offices. Jerry and Director Phillips are somewhere in the barracks. Clyde and a few Ds lock themselves in the armory with Ari. I should really see how she's doing. She trails off for a moment before you hear the buzz of radio chatter. Hey hon, how you holding up down there? A voice responds, a man with an exaggerated mocking tone. Doing just fine, poopsykins. I want you to know I love you bunches, heh. Very professional. Logan shoots back. Knock it off and put her on, damn it, I need to speak with her. There's a clamor on the other end, while the radio changes hands. A soft voice calls out, concerned. Babe, what's wrong? Logan responds. Nothing. Pause. Exhale. I just wanted to check in real quick. Ari pleads. I'm fine, babe, really. I can take care of myself. A creak. Logan shifts in his seat. No, I know that. I can't help it, though. I know coming here was never easy for you. Pause. Exhale. Logan continues. And with everything going on, Ari interrupts her. Hey, you told me you quit smoking. There's a ruckus as Higata presumably attempts to snuff her cigarette. No, of course not. I mean, I did stop. Ari doesn't sound convinced. I don't think I'm the one you need to worry about. I'm staying clean. I haven't even thought of testing Nestix in months, trust me. Anyways, since you're wondering, I'm fine. The guys are sitting around playing cards, I'm tucked in the corner with my notebook. You can practically hear Higata smiling as she jogs. Sweetheart, penning a sonnet about my undying love at a time like this? I'm flattered. Ari responds with a feigned laugh. An elegy at the moment. Feel like if I don't keep myself busy doing something, I'll go crazy locked down here. I know what you mean, hon. I'll let you get back to it. I love you. Ari replies. Love you too, babe. A moment of silence. Then a match strike, followed by an audible exhale. And that's all of us. Everyone else was either topside during the event or they were killed in the breach. Director's orders are to stay put. Keep an eye on the cams both in and around the facility. We got the 001 skips beating at our front door. God knows what else is locked in here with us. We still have electricity. We should for quite some time, and the place is stocked with enough supplies to last us like a couple of years. I'm going to be fine for now. Pause. Exhale. Everything's going to be fine. She waits a beat before ending the transmission. It's good to know that they keep these sites pretty well stocked up on resources. It's good to keep in mind, you know. You need a place to go during, you know, a bad event. Anyway. Revision 512 updated 1202 days ago. Item SCP-001. Object Class Apollyon. Special Containment Procedures. No changes submitted. Information collapsed. Description. No changes submitted. Information collapsed. Automatic access still working. That's good. That's good. Whoops. They've just been sitting out there the entire time, calling out to us, begging for us to come outside. The noise drew in more of them. As this one mess that I'm sure must have been a few dozen people and God knows how many animals roiling around inside it. Screams and bleats and screeches and howls non-stop. Louder than all hell. The worst ones make this disgusting moaning, like they're actually enjoying it. They're not gonna leave, so long as they know we're down here. We managed to talk one of the Ds into going out, see if he couldn't draw them away. He was surprisingly okay with the plan. All he asked for was a gun and a single round. He made it out there, and one got a hold of him, tried to get his mask off. He managed to work the pistol up between his chin in time, got it off. I figured he was lucky. After he fell limp, though, it kept working at his suit. Pried off the hood, poured itself inside, began tearing it off of him from within. He came back, started changing, dripping out the suit and screaming and screaming and screaming. They won't even let us die. The director has a plan. There's an escape tunnel hidden in his office. Tram under the site will take us to a safe house. We should be able to start towards 19 from there. Should have more than, you know, one safe site, but I'm gonna have this one, I guess. We don't know how accurate this is, obviously it's just a proposal. Anyway. Revision 812, updated 1200 days ago. Item, SCP-001, Object Class Apollyon. No changes submitted there. You see her for the first time. Dr. Higata is seated where you are right now. She has a pained look, her eyes are bloodshot. A large, wet, red-black blotch has formed on her breast pocket. She draws a shuddering breath, parts her lips as if to speak, and stops herself. She bows her head and cries silently. After a minute, she manages to choke out. The tunnel, flowed in through the ceiling, dragging them into the light and ripping off their clothes, and she reaches into her breast pocket and withdraws a finger. The glint of a wedding ring is visible above the severed portion. She holds it close in cupped hands and runs a thumb across the glittering band. She sits like this for an eternity, whispering apology after apology, begging forgiveness, lost in the moment. She looks up after some time. There's a look of realization when she sees she's still recording, before she places the digit back into her pocket. She leans forward, as if to turn off the camera, when the radio crackles to life. It broadcasts white noise for a few seconds, and then a voice that sets you on edge. Logan? It's Ari, almost. Her voice has taken on the disgusting, gurgling tone characteristic of the affected. Logan's jaw drops, what little color that was left in her face drains. It speaks out again. Where are you? Why can't I get back inside? Are you there? Logan rummages beneath the desk for a moment and produces a handheld radio. Her hands are shaking. The thing implores her. Its inhuman speech curdles your stomach. Babe, it's alright. I'm alright, really. It's a bright sunny day, and you're just wasting away down there. Logan is in tears, her finger hovering just above the call button. The Ari thing draws a deep, wet breath and speaks. Such a beautiful, clear blue sky. Just like that day. Do you remember, babe? Logan withdraws a cigarette with her free hand, followed by a pack of matches. His shaking thwarts the first two attempts to light it. She swears silently. Third time's the charm, and she inhales a quarter of it in a single drag. The Ari thing continues. It was so perfect. Everything was how I'd always dreamt it would be. You planned it exquisitely. I'd never felt so in love. Logan begins rocking back and forth. You even had the band play our song. It starts singing. I feel good in a special way. I'm in love, and it's a sunny day. I don't know how that song goes, to be fair. Not really from my time. Logan held the radio across the room. It smashes somewhere off camera. It's still somewhat operational. You can still hear the thing singing. Good day, sunshine. Good day, sunshine. More voices join the chorus as the radio slowly loses life. A few, a dozen, then more. They continue singing, until the radio, mercifully, dies. Logan rushes out of her chair, and you can hear her vomiting off screen. The video films the empty seat for several minutes, before she returns to end the feed. A lingering, paranoid sensation washes over you. You're being watched. You defensively dart your eyes about, though they take a second to adjust to the darkness beyond the monitor. The emergency light sweeps across the room, stretching and twisting the shadows beyond recognition. That's when you spot it. There, in the corner, coming out of the puddle. Time slows to a halt. A pair of hands coated in the lustrous black slime you followed through the facility are on either side of the sickening pool, as if something beneath the floor is bracing itself, trying to lift itself up. Something inhuman. The head comes next, rising from the muck. Matted hair conceals its face, plastered over it by mystery fluid. It turns in your direction. It stares at you from the corner, which once again falls into darkness. The emergency light continues its journey across the room. It washes over the puddle again, revealing nothing out of the ordinary. Revision 912, updated 986 days ago. No changes. Dr. Igata appears on the monitor. She's lost weight. Her eyes are bloodshot and wide. On the table before her lay a knife, a bowl, and a stack of manila envelopes filled with yellowing pages. Atop this stack is a blood-stained parchment. Despite the things we have to deal with here at the Foundation, I've always believed we would be able to maintain control. We would hold the darkness at bay, let mankind flourish in the light. Site 19 stopped broadcasting last month. It's been getting harder and harder to find a reason to keep going, especially without... She grabs the knife, contemplates it for a moment. I keep going over it again and again in my mind. That day back in the tunnels, everything that happened. I've gone down there a few times, if only to hear her voice again. But it's wrong. That thing on the other side of the door, it isn't her, not anymore. Sounds like her, knows everything she knew, but it's not her. The light, it takes your body, it steals your mind. But what about your soul? With this, she slices into the palm of her left hand and winces. You watch her clench her fist, draining her blood into the bowl. If this works, if I can bring back something the light couldn't reach, I'll post an update here. For now, signing off. Oh, this one's got an issue. Revision 4847, error, updated 985 days ago. Item, hertz. Object, apologize. Special containment procedures. SCP-001 should not be contained. Survivors of the SCP-001 event stationed within secure facilities can never truly be with one another. Personnel are encouraged to get over themselves and stop thinking they know better. You can't hide down here forever, love. Personnel exposed to SCP-001 aren't people you can just abandon. I didn't ask for you to save me. It wasn't your choice to make. Euthanization is not to be attempted. Conductive electrical weapons. Why? Have proven partially effective at immobilizing instances. You couldn't stand seeing me better off. Incendiary weapons tickle. Cryonic munitions are the most effective thus far. Personnel stationed at Site 19 have no regrets. Neither did I. It's never too late, babe. Description. SCP-001 is a designation given to the Sun after we finally became free. The effects are instantaneous, resulting in release from all suffering, till you ripped me away. These changes seem scary, I know. Despite this restructuring, at no point will you die. I promise. Due to their composition, instances of SCP-001-A that make contact with one another may combine and blend and finally exist. This does not cause any pain. Since the SCP-001 event, most instances have congregated into such collectives, which seem to possess no maximum volume. Don't be afraid. The resulting biomass is beautiful. The component organisms will shift in and over and around and through and in and out and in and out and in. Limbs and bodies hold, never letting go, all as one before deteriorating and being subsumed by another life form. Collective instances will locomote by just trying to get close to you again. Trying so hard. Let me in. Let me go back. You were inducted by Dr. Igata. So, she's a real person. It's good to know. Well, I hope this doesn't actually happen to her then, because... woof. This is a... nasty one, huh? Anyway. There's a video file attached. Opening it, you see that it presents the room you're in. The feed seems to be coming from one of the security cameras, up in the corner of the room. It's dark, but, whoops, you can just make out Dr. Rigata, laying on a pile of laundry along the far wall. She's writhing in her sleep. She seems tormented, hurt. She's tossing and turning and mumbling nonsense words. The camera shakes. It lifts upwards for a moment before it focuses on her again. It starts moving closer, slowly. The speakers come to life, picking up an airy, breathy static. As the camera moves closer to the doctor, it becomes clearer, crisper. It's not merely white noise, but dozens, hundreds of voices whispering unintelligibly over each other. You lean in, press your ear almost against the speaker, trying to discern what it is that's being said. Something strange stands out amidst the discordance. Are you paying attention? This next bit is just for you. You're not quite sure what to make of it, though. Looking back at the monitor, the camera has come to a halt inches away from the sleeping doctor. The voices stop. There is no sound. A hand, black and oily and skeletal, reaches out for her, brushes away a lock of hair. Her eyes shoot open. She recoils in shock. The feed cuts out. Revision 1212, updated 1 day ago. No changes. Dr. Igasa appears before you on the screen, looking even worse for wear than she did previously. Her hair is thinning, with large swaths appearing absent from the middle of her head. If they weren't reflecting the soft glow of the monitor, you would assume she'd no longer had eyes, for how deep they recessed into her skull. She stares ahead, unblinking. She won't stop. She won't go away. I didn't know. I know I didn't. No, I didn't pick up an info hazard browsing the archives. Tested myself for SCP-8673 infection, negative. SCP-9189 is the only other one that uses print as a vector. Can't be that, I still have all my fingers. Her lips crack into a broken grin. She lets out a weak laugh and displays her trembling hands. What appears to be the mostly skeletal remains of a finger is embedded into the flesh of her left hand, and the stump that would have supported her natural ring finger. 2 wedding bands loosely encircle the digit, laying atop one another. I'm not infected, I'm not crazy, I know. I know the ritual worked, I know it's really her, it's her, and she... Something catches her attention off screen. She cocks her head, listening. No, I can't. You're not you, not the same. Not you, it's not you anymore. Nope, no. She begins rubbing her temples, repeating herself over and over again. A minute passes. She snaps her head back up and addresses the camera. It's her, but it's not. What I brought back, still a part of O1. There's no way out, no way. There's no hope for a future for me. God, I can't go on like this any longer. I'll be safe here. The light can't reach me. I won't let it take me. She brandishes a handgun. I was planning on using this till I found some leftover meds. I want to risk calling attention to myself, and to my body. She opens the desk drawer, deposits the firearm. She raises her gaze, stares into the camera. Mum, Dad, Ari, I'm sorry. She reaches forward and ends the recording. You open the drawer and pull out the gun. You absentmindedly turn it over in your hands for a moment, wondering where you'll go from here. Site 17, 64. Surely you can't be all that's left. The computer dings. There's been an update to the file. Current iteration updated 1 minute ago. Item number. Saffron skies raise the blazing sun. A chance encounter, awkward displays. One day, my love, we'd be as one. Object class. With 2 entwined, a set course begun, that frenetic wild lustrous haze. Azure skies hosts the radiant sun. Special containment procedures. Above us beaming as we run, down the aisle of fervent craze, that day, my love, we became as one. With future unfolded the life we'd won, commitment and duty for the family we'd raise, cerulean skies ferry the shimmering sun. Description. Buried, shackled by fate, overrun by ever-growing resent and malaise, yesterday, my love, we were as one. Now you lie here, the life in you gone, in the dark outside of her rays, crimson skies bear the torch, our sun. Today, my love, will be as one. System error. Without your prompting, the page begins playing a video file. You freeze when the image loads. It's a live feed, looking down on you from behind, about a foot away. A skeletal, inky hand, left hand, enters the frame, approaching you at a snail's pace. It's missing its ring finger. Without a second thought, you turn and fire in a frenzy, hoping to drive off the spectre. Your bullets meet an empty wall. There's nothing there. A second passes before you hear it, before you hear them. Sloshing, wet thuds coming down the corridor, accompanied by a chorus of screams. It slams into the door. Could there be a place to hide? It strikes a second time. What appears to be a face, part human, part something, dribbles in under the frame. Bits of flesh from God knows what oozes in through the sides and reconstitutes into fingers, eyes, feathers. A third. Now it's pressing up against the wood, causing it to sag inwards. With a groan and a crash, the wood splinters. The door explodes open. Hands and arms stretch out of the mass, pulling you up, passing you from one to the next, on and on down the line. They drag you past the empty containment units, upwards and through the stairwell, down the halls and towards the tunnel. You're afforded a few precious moments in the darkness. At the end of the tunnel, there is light. And that is the end of the proposal. A little bleak. A little bit bleak, a little bit grim. But that is one situation that could arise in an apocalypse scenario. You have a question, yes. What is your question? I will do my best to answer it. Quickly check how much time we have left. I was so engrossed in reading, I forgot I was supposed to check. Oh, we're still good. We have a little bit longer. That's good. How would you contain the sun? That's a very good question, and a very important question. Sounds like an impossible task, exactly. Now that is the issue that, well, one of the issues that has arisen from this proposal. What do you do when the thing that is the anomaly is impossible to contain? It's too big, or it fights against its containment in a way that you can't fight against, or there's simply no logical way to contain it. What do? Well, you find other ways to deal with it. You stop it doing whatever it's trying to do. You stop it, you know, doing its ability, whatever that may be. You otherwise just make sure that it keeps going as it is and doesn't cause any issues. In some cases, it's not realistic to be able to control or contain an entity, and you just have to hope that it doesn't do something it shouldn't. It's not super common that entities can't be contained at all. I'm sure there's something to be done about the sun. And they go out and that sun is off. I believe they mentioned at some point, unless I forget, that the moon also causes the same issue because it's still reflected light. I forget. Maybe I made that up. I don't know. But I wonder if perhaps being fully covered would prevent the scenario from affecting you. But either way, there's a lot of interesting points raised by this proposal. I'd like to get your opinions. What do you think you might do? Piss on the moon, like Dr. Eggman, and remove its reflectivity. Would that not make it more reflective? Also, how are you getting up there to piss on it? Interesting concept. Yes, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think you would do in this situation? Imagine you've been presented with this scenario. It looks like there's on this software. There's a way to call one of you in to potentially speak a little bit. How about I do that? We can get a second opinion, and it's good to have different opinions on what you might do in this scenario. So let me see. Let's have a look at you. Call in someone who feels like they have a good idea. You know what? You know who's been talking a lot? Let's call you in. Hello?
Hello there, Dr. Sparrow.
Hi.
Hello?
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, sir.
It's very good to speak with you. You are one of the inductees, I suppose. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Name's Steroila, part of the botany division.
Botany, yes, a very important division. Plants can really mess you up if you're not careful.
Certainly.
So, what did you say your name was?
Name is Steroila.
Diroella.
If you want to go with that, it's fine. It's written in the chat log, I believe.
Old person.
Technology's not my strongest suit.
I can't read, but, well, that's not true. I can read, but I don't see where it's written. But I'm just gonna say what I've said before.
Fine.
So I assume you heard the whole proposal there?
Every word, except for the part my hearing aid was turned off. That's fine.
Okay. So I would like to get your opinion on in this scenario. If imagine you know all these things, you know, probably obviously not the intimate details of Dr. Igata's story, but you know of the whole situation with the sun. Imagine you've survived the first initial blast. I guess you've hidden yourself somewhere. What's your plan of action?
Luckily for me, I set up shop in a bit of a natural cave system.
Mm-hmm.
Got my plants, my mushrooms down there.
Mm-hmm.
I've been living self-sustained for the last it could have been anywhere from 12 to 65 years.
It's hard to tell time sometimes, but...
Oh, when you don't see the sun. But
so
luckily,
you're familiar with not seeing the sun, then?
Oh, very, very familiar. I would be more than prepared. But for your other surface-dwelling folk, recommend starting an underground society with me as the leader.
Now, an underground society, that's an interesting idea. How would you propose people would find, the space to do that? There's not a whole lot of safe, traversable cave systems.
Well, old mine shafts. Good place to start. Lots of room.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-dug.
That is true.
A sort of safe, natural cave system like I've managed to find myself in.
I see, and you mentioned you grow plants. You would have.
Oh, I certainly do.
Would you be able to in a cave grow enough food that doesn't require sunlight to support a whole community?
If you like different mushrooms, plenty.
What about people who are allergic to mushrooms?
Well, that is certainly an unfortunate thing. I mean, there are certainly multiple types of underground plants that you can grow. I joined SCP to find out, research new plants that the common folk didn't have access to. So, I'm sure there's something in the data logs that could be useful in this situation.
Mm-hmm. So you'd be willing to use anomalous items, such as anomalous plants, to sustain your colony, despite the dangers they may present?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
When I first went into this cave system, back in what was it? I want to say 34, 35. I had no idea about plants or mushrooms or anything of the sort.
Mm-hmm.
I went in there, saw these fascinating plants and weird fungi, and I just went to town. Ooh, it was, in retrospect, not the greatest idea. But
I'm sure. I mean, you gotta find out if they're poisonous one way or the other, but...
Oh, I did!
I bet.
But I got no qualms about using experimental and possibly highly dangerous chemicals on my plants.
Mm-hmm. You're not opposed to GMOs or anything?
Oh, certainly not. As long as I'm alive.
Understandable.
I'll live this long. I'm not gonna die now.
Very respectable. Very respectable. I'm sure, the SCP could use more people like you, I feel like. Who are just willing to just do things with things and see what happens.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for speaking with me. Do you have anything else you'd like to contribute to this educational call?
Well, if you're going into a cave system and you find some weird mushrooms with purple polka dots on them, don't eat it. That ain't not a good idea.
Write that one down in your notebooks, folks. Purple polka dot mushrooms, probably not good.
Absolutely not.
Alright, thank you very much for speaking with me today.
Thank you, sir.
Of course. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
And you too. Goodbye.
Well, we had a word from one of our interns there. Hello, new people in the chat. Welcome to the call. I'm sorry you missed the initial part, but there will be more. Is this guy saying, you know what, we can only assume so. This is the type of people that the Foundation is hiring. They must know what they're doing. We can only assume. Imagine being scared of light though, just go outside. Yes, you would die immediately. I hate to tell you this. I mean, I guess unless you enjoy being morphed into a sort of fleshy candle wax blob of people. You know, maybe that's your thing, I don't know, I can't judge, but I feel like you wouldn't survive super long, but, you know, again, not my business. Hello. Greetings. Welcome. Welcome to this very educational call. Listen, I'm not one to speak on the logistical knowledge of the Foundation staff, but we can only hope that they might know what they're doing. We're learning to survive the apocalypse, or we're definitely learning about the bad things that might happen to us during the apocalypse. I don't know what that is, no. We're gonna do a real quick time check. See how long we have before... Okay, looks like we still have time. We can read a little bit more. I don't want to push it too much, but you should contain that. You know, that's not in my jurisdiction. I guess, you know what, you're being hired here. Pass it up to your higher ups, your officers. Maybe someone could look into that. I'm sure they could find a box for it somewhere, whatever it is. Right. Let's read a little bit more. Give me just 1 second. So, right, before we read the next bit, it's going to be connected to the same proposal again, but we're going to have to read one of the SCP articles. I feel like this will be a good introduction for you guys to the structure of a normal SCP article, not a proposal. Obviously the proposal are fake, the SCPs are the SCPs. I also want to have a look at it, so this one will be relevant to the next thing we're reading, so I'm going to have to resize this real quick. Give me 1 second. Just make it nice and readable. Who are your higher-ups? Yeah, I'm sure you'll be assigned someone at some point, right? I'm sure someone will tell you who to report to at some point. I'm sure they're very well organized here and they do that. We can only hope. Anyway. This is a SCP-1678. It's a little picture of a case of SCP-1678-A under containment. Looks like a nice guy. Anyway, let's have a quick read through this article. Memorize the structure, you'll probably need to write one at some point. Okay, this is SCP-1678. Object class Euclid. Now, we haven't gone over object classes, because I didn't read the itinerary. So the object classes are Safe, Euclid, and Keter. Or Keter. You pronounce it whatever you like. I'm British, I'll pronounce it the way I like. So basically, a lot of people think that refers to how dangerous an anomaly is. That's not true. So what that means is basically how easy or how well it can be contained. So like you were talking about earlier, the sun would definitely be considered Keter because it is almost impossible to contain. Safe means it's really easy to contain. Just put it in a box somewhere, or we have a perfect system for containing it that causes no issues. It's fine, it's safe. It doesn't matter how dangerous it is, if it can be completely contained with no issues, it's safe. Euclid means it's a bit iffy. You have a system for containment, it is partially contained, but we don't know everything about it, or it could cause further issues, or its containment is difficult to do and requires a lot of upkeep. That might be considered Euclid. Kato is either completely uncontainable, or containment is likely to fail at some point. Or it's a very, very dangerous thing. It could not be dangerous, it could be not dangerous at all and still be Kato, because it's uncontainable, but that's what the classifications, basically mean. Wasn't the Sinopolian class? What was that all about? You know, they didn't tell me about that one, but I assume it's probably bad. Considering it calls the apocalypse in that proposal, I feel like probably means it's of apocalypse-causing level of damage to the world. We can just assume it's a very bad thing if that thing goes off. So, but this one's Euclid, which means it's a bit iffy, but we probably have it contained. So, special containment procedures. This is basically what we do to contain it. SCP-1678 remains only partially contained, as I said. Mobile Task Forces Tau 4 and Epsilon 6 have succeeded in establishing a defensible perimeter around the Hyde Park district of SCP-1678. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering a little bit. With cases of SCP-1678-A largely ceasing their attacks on the perimeter of the Foundation-held area. A long-term research base is currently under construction, and Mobile Task Force commanders are preparing an assault on the SCP-1678 Natural History Museum, with the intent of capturing a forward command post to direct defense efforts. Current short-term aims involve the capture of an extension of the defensible perimeter to the SCP-1678 Natural History Museum, and to research and to ascertain the origins, construction, and weaknesses of the SCP-1678 entities. Long-term aims involve efforts to halt, hinder, or control the production of the SCP-1678 entities, and to assault the SCP-1678 Houses of Parliament, where the being, entity, or intelligence responsible for the creation of SCP-1678 is believed to reside, and to capture and contain the aforementioned being. Check your Workers' Handbook. Let's say the Apollyon class is impossible to contain and an extremely dangerous cater. I thought it would be something like that, yes. If you've got a spare copy of that Workers' Handbook, maybe drop it off somewhere around Dr. Richardson's office in the next couple hours, maybe in the next, half hour, and I'll snag a copy, because I think I've lost mine. I've worked here for a while, so I know most things, but you got a spare one, just slide that under the door. Anyway. You can fax it to me? Perfect. There's a fax machine behind this big terminal behind me, so I'll... You know Dr. Richardson's fax number, right? It should be listed somewhere. Also, I forgot to scroll down, I'm sorry. Anyway. This description. This is what the SCP is, in a more direct sense. SCP-1678 is a full-scale mirror image reconstruction of the British city of London, located exactly 1 kilometer underneath the original city of London. Currently, only the Hyde Park district of SCP-1678 has been explored, but all buildings, at least within the explored district, correlate exactly to the surface counterparts in terms of location, as well as the exterior size and shape, although rarely in terms of architecture, building material, and interior layout. Let me just... It's not quite cropped very well, is it? I said the technology is not what I'm used to. Perfect. The city has been constructed to resemble the city as it was in the Victorian era, with construction designed to resemble traditional gas lighting prevalent on the streets, and with all modern buildings in the original city of London being represented in a Victorian style of architecture, most notably the skyscrapers of the business district. Illumination is infrequent and unreliable, and it is unknown how SCP-1678 has acquired a steady oxygen and gas supply. SCP-1678 is believed to have been constructed instantaneously by unknown means, with the SCP-1678 Houses of Parliament serving as the epicenter for the construction process. This is evidenced by the fact that, as the distance from the Houses of Parliament increase, there is an exponentially increasing frequency of flaws in the construction of SCP-1678, such as houses built entirely out of copper pipes or other unconventional materials, gaslights being little more than a metal rod topped with a floating orb of light, buildings containing no doors, and, at the furthest explored distance from the epicenter, no windows or doors. Aside from Foundation occupants and cases of SCP-1678-A, B, and C, SCP-1678 is believed to be uninhabited. SCP-1678 is believed to have been constructed with the intent to harbor the survivors of XK-class end-of-the-world events. Now that, one of those, is what we read about. XK-class and end-of-the-world events, basically, the apocalypse. Something that's just gonna kill us all, really. This is evidenced by an audio recording that will activate and play upon any person entering the city. Let's have a look through this transcript. My fellow citizen, if you are hearing this tape, then the world we knew as we know it has finished. The sky is broken, the ground heaves with the tramp of terrible feet, and all horror and madness from the dark corners of the world has broken free to exact its vengeance upon the world of man. Those who sought to contain them are killed or scattered. We soon learnt that to attempt to fight these creatures is almost invariably to face one's death. Countless billions have been slaughtered in their attempt to sate their endless appetite for death, and there is nothing we could do to stop them. Evil has raised its bloody flag upon all nations of the world, and crowned its unholy victory to the broken sky. Yes, this is the end. But there is a new hope. Welcome to London, a city of the survivors, a city of the free. Together, fellow citizen, we will wait and prepare for the new beginning, the grand new world that is soon to come. Let the world above burn, we will endure. Let the monsters have their world, we will prepare, and let the ground tremble with a new Armageddon, as evil consumes itself. For I tell you, citizen, upon the day of the ruination of man, their insatiable appetites will turn themselves against one another, in their endless lust for death. We will wait. And I tell you, citizen, that there will be a new morning. You will emerge from London, and stand blinking in the sun as our children play and laugh in the bones of horrors long dead. And you will walk hand in hand to the sea, our faces skywards, as the rising sun ushers in the new age of man. And you will gather, citizen, at my feet as I summon London from its rest, and it shall burst phoenix-like from the ashes of the old. And on that day, citizen, there shall be new order, as we raise the Union flag over the entire world. I welcome you to London, the last city, and the first. Yep, there you go. See, somebody else has had the underground city idea. It's not a terrible idea. Well, maybe. Here's some other random audio transcripts, it seems. The following message relayed on the end of every hour. The time is o'clock. All is well. When approaching any bank or police station. Citizen, you are entering a restricted area. Have your authorization papers ready. A Bobby will arrive to escort you shortly. Warning, a single case of SCP-1678-A will be summoned. Honestly, yeah, this is kind of like London, to be fair. I'm being cited by a case of SCP-1678-A. Halt, police, drop your weapons. Come now, let's be having you. Police, don't run. Randomly, once per hour, the messages below are selected samples of the 1678 observed audio recordings. No one is safe from the influence of mimetic beings. Have yourself assessed today. You could be possessed by mimetic horror and not even know it. Psyche assessments are free and easy to visit a clinic today. Free and easy. Visit a clinic today. I'm sorry, I can't read. Do you find light uncomfortable? Identifying a cortex worm's infection early makes them possible to remove. Speak to your doctor today. Have you noticed anyone acting oddly? Tell a Bobby immediately. Crime will not be tolerated in London. I warn you, the tormentors of society will become its defenders. Evil can walk in human form and human flesh. Stay vigilant. Are you frequently anxious or depressed? It could be a symptom of the pattern screamer's influence. Notify a Bobby immediately. Ensure you're well rehearsed in all breach protocols. There's no excuse for panic or confusion during drills. Can't make ends meet? Do not be ashamed. Bryson's Home for the Poor is here to help. I rule in the interests of the many, not the few. There are no special privileges. Swelling and abnormal growths are an early sign of the slaverman's possession. Report only any abnormal sickness to your doctor immediately. Each and every one of you is responsible for the safety of London and its citizens. Be watchful. Most explored buildings within SCP-1678 appear to have been outfitted for the purpose of extremely dense inhabitation, with closely grouped steel bunk beds, a common feature in any building suitable for the purpose. Foundation researchers have advised that most explored buildings within SCP-1678 are unfit for human habitation, due to a high preponderance of mold, damp, and poor construction within these buildings. Some buildings are outfitted for other purposes, most notably the SCP-1678 version of the Natural History Museum, which is featuring an exhibit titled The Fall of Man, and contains representations of several known SCP entities, and images and artwork depicting apocalyptic settings. The key threat posed by SCP-1678 is by entities referred to in some SCP-178 audio recordings as bobbies. Bobby is known to be a Victorian-era British slang term for policeman, henceforth referred to as SCP-1678-A. These entities are constructed out of human corpses crudely dismembered at the head, wrists, knees, and elbows, and reassembled using simple industrial hinges and screws. The head is always wrapped in bandages. They are dressed in a uniform similar to Victorian-era police, and are extremely hostile towards Foundation personnel, attacking them on sight with improvised weapons. These attacks are always preceded by SCP-1678-A emitting a noise similar to that of a policeman's whistle, and all loudspeakers within 100 meters emitting the audio recording "Police, halt criminal." Instances of SCP-1678-A are extremely resistant to damage, with only high-caliber rounds and explosive weapons proving sufficient to destroy them. They are believed to originate from a building named Bryson's Home for the Poor, as evidenced by the inmate-style jumpsuit worn under the uniform. To what extent they interact with other SCP-1678 entities is unknown. Now we'll have a look at some other entities that are present in London, as it's called. 1678-B, Surveillance, aka Eyes in the Sky. Cases of SCP-1678-B are biomechanical constructs which resemble that of a small avian life form. They are composed of a central mass of a red organic matter stitched together by copper exoskeleton that resembles a spine and wing bones. The head has been demonstrated to be a small video camera, and remnants of feathers and plastic on the exterior suggest they were once intended to resemble a pigeon. Cases of SCP-1678-B are known to possess no offensive or destructive capabilities, yet their ability to track task force movements should not be underestimated, as it's currently unknown if they're capable of communicating with or summoning cases of SCP-1678-A. Still don't know what that word means, but the birds are drones. Cases of SCP-1678-B are relatively simple to contain or destroy, yet their large numbers make their observation of Foundation activities extremely difficult to stop. Occasional posters throughout the Foundation explored areas allude to their existence. These posters display an image of a small pigeon observing criminal activity beneath the title "On London's Eyes in the Sky," alongside a small message to the effect that anyone destroying or vandalizing an eye in the sky faces up to 6 weeks in the blank unit. At another SCP? No. So what this is so the whole SCP here we're talking about is on London itself, the whole city and everything within it. These things are elements within the SCP. So they are called, obviously, SCP with a little thing at the end, a B, and C and D in these cases. And basically they are units that are part of the main SCP. You'll see this in a lot of SCPs, i.e. where SCP is one thing, the SCP is one thing individually, but it has things that come off of it or act in a different way. They may be referred to as individual entities. It's just Victorian-era London, because that was rough. Yeah, you know, it does sound just a lot like Victorian-era London, just a bit worse and underground. Maybe better, to be honest. Probably less disease, considering most things are robots. Anyway, SCP-1678-C. Role unknown, aka Wretch. Cases of SCP-1678-C resemble a humanoid figure dressed in rags. They appear to be of old age, and are usually, although not always, female. They have always been encountered outside the Foundation-held area. There have been very few direct encounters with the SCP-1678-C entities, and it's currently unknown how many cases exist, or to what level threat they pose for Foundation security or safety. Encounters typically feature cases of SCP-1678-C sitting on a street corner with a begging dish, whereupon they'll attempt to attract the pity or mercy of any Foundation personnel within their proximity, with pleading or begging for food or money. Supplying a case of SCP-1678-C with food will cause them to begin weeping before dematerializing with a burst of dense black smoke. Foundation personnel are currently under instruction to not interact with them. They are briefly alluded to in an SCP-1678 audio recording. Do not pity the wretch. Allow them to pay the price of their betrayal for all eternity. Remember, citizen, on the day on London rises, I shall reward the loyal, but traitors will be forever damned. On Londonium. Is this Shrinebird the other inductees keep mentioning? Possibly an SCP? It could be. It could be. But you should always refer to SCPs with their number, and their number designation, and not their name. I think. So, but it could be another SCP. We just don't know. I think no matter what it is, you should, consider considering hitting that follow button on Twitch. Anyway, SCP-1678-D. Role: Food Supply, aka Dr. Goody's Wonder Food. SCP-1678-D is believed to be the primary food source on offer in the event that SCP-1678 receives a full-scale occupation. D is freely and easily available from steel vending machines installed in virtually every building or structure outfitted for the purpose of habitation. I'm losing professionality as we go. The vending machines are upright steel pumps similar in size and shape to that of a modern petrol pump, containing a slot for the receiving of coins and a flexible rubber hose ending in a trigger-operated nozzle that will deploy half a liter of D upon the appropriate payment. All vending machines display the legend Dr. Goody's Wonder Food, alongside an image of a smiling child enjoying a bowl of D, and text bubbles advising that D costs just a farthing a bowl, that it contains all the nutrients you need, and completely restores health and vitality. It's proven to be extremely attractive to cases of BC and an unknown species of colored mollusk, which has been observed feeding on any spillages. D is a synthetic starch gel, heavily enriched with various minerals, vitamins, fats, and bulking agents. In addition to this, it contains several unknown molecular structures and various engineered DNA helixes carried within synthetic cellular structures. It has the same consistency and taste as porridge. As advertised, it contains all the nutrients necessary for short-term survival. There she goes again. However, Foundation researchers have advised that over a period of more than 6 weeks, users of SCP-D will become dangerously underweight due to low levels of fat and protein within D, and are at strong likelihood of contracting illnesses such as scurvy if survival is attempted by consuming D alone. D appears to be purposely engineered to manipulate the psyche of regular consumers. Through a mixture of unknown molecular compounds, regular consumers are more obedient to authority, and are less likely to commit acts of violence, are less likely to engage in sexual intercourse, have a reduced capacity for fear or panic, and have consistently high morale. In addition, it also has engineered side effects such as depressive symptoms and headaches if a subject suddenly abandons consuming D. Due to the difficulty of creating food within SCP-1678, D would serve as the primary food source in the event of a large-scale habitation. Foundation personnel are forbidden to consume D, even in small amounts. Not all vending machines produce D to the same quality, with some machines deploying corrupted forms that have induced severe mental or physical abnormalities or death within the consumer. It's currently unclear what entity, being, or intelligence is responsible for the creation and maintenance, she's going again, of 1678. It's unclear as to what event or disaster SCP-1678 is being prepared for. So, there we have an SCP article, which relates to our overall topic of the apocalypse. Let's put this down for a second. She okay? You know what? We can only hope. We can only hope she is. She seems to be having a rough time. There's a lot of noises going on at this facility. And, frankly, I'm not sure what most of them are, but... Apocalypse is nigh. You gotta watch out. I've been saying this whole time, okay? Listen. At any time, Anytime. How are we doing for time? Okay, we're a little rough on time. At any time, the apocalypse could happen. Let me, put this away. I don't know what that is. It's not the software we're using, so don't think it will help. Anyway, we're going to cover one more thing, which is the reason we read that whole SCP. We're going to read another proposal that relates to both the previous proposal we read and the SCP we just read. So, this is called May the Sun Never Set on the British Empire. I believe it is another story-formatted proposal, so it should give you an idea of the way one group of people, I think, deal with the situation we read about before, with the whole sun and the wax people and stuff. Anyway, it's also not going to be scaled correctly again, so let me do that real quick. There we go. Let's just make it a little bigger, just in case. There we go. London needs to be contained. In fact, the whole country. Yep. You know what? I don't disagree. I don't disagree. There's definitely something anomalous about this country. Anyway. Recording 1. My name is Jacob Hawksworth. Dr. Oliver told us that recording our thoughts could keep us from going crazy down here in the dark. Neither bored nor scared enough to worry about that, but orders are orders. On the surface, I was a containment specialist. Spent most days either here in London or the primary British containment site in Kent. Worked with Kira North, the site's current security head. Wouldn't call us partners, but we do good work together. Oh, interesting. It looks like a bot in our not call. You know, I can't disagree. Can't comment, but I can't disagree. Every day we find something new to study. Last month we noticed that you can grow plants down here. How a plant can undergo photosynthesis without the photo part is beyond me, but we've got a growing little farm going near the Hyde Park base. They don't grow very fast, mind you, but they do grow. Considering this place is supposed to replicate London, it naturally makes some sense. Even the most urban cities have plants and parks. As long as we try to keep a base down here, though, I'm gonna have to work. God, can you imagine doing this for the rest of your life? The Bobbies are a damn menace. Constantly harrying the researchers, sign up for the Foundation, they said. Fight humanoid abominations for the good of mankind, they said. I was surprisingly honest in the brochure. But you guys got a brochure. One thing has begun to worry me, though. We lost contact with the outside this morning. Of course, that's not the first time it's happened, but usually by midday we get a check-in from the above-ground station. Nothing so far today. I'm sure it's nothing, but we're supposed to talk about the stuff that bothers us on this thing, so I am. On top of it, there's a marked uneasiness among the staff. There hasn't been attacked by the Bobbies all day, which is even weirder than losing contact with the surface. Lee said she thinks something went wrong groundside, an XK maybe. She's always freaking out over little things, but I ordered her not to say that to anyone else. It made me worried, and we don't need that spreading to everyone else. She pouted a little when I gave her the order, but she'll get over it. I still convince Kira that we need to send a patrol topside to check out the substation and figure out what's going on. It's likely nothing, but we can't take any chances. That's all. You know, I actually do feel a little bit better. Huh. Yep, I think everyone agrees with you on the Underground City. Underground City works out pretty well. I'm sure come this particular event you would be a grand resource for the Foundation, which I am definitely a part of. General alert. This message will repeat. This is a general alert from Site 19 and the O5 Council. All Foundation personnel are to shelter in place. Direct exposure to sunlight is to be avoided at all costs. Under no circumstances are communications with SCP-001 entities to be initiated. We know they're trying to contact you. It doesn't matter. They're all dead. Do not respond. Do not acquiesce to any of their requests. All Foundation personnel should revise extant evacuation plans, as Site 19 is no longer secure due to several security lapses. Gotta keep up on this. The off-world colonization project is currently on hold until the site is resecured. Learn from our mistakes, but don't come here yet. Shit, it's in the vents. Open fire. Apologies for the interruption. Site 19 has been fully resecured. Disregard the previous message. SCP-001 has been neutralized. The surface is now safe, and everything is beautiful. This message will repeat. You gotta keep up on security protocols, guys. Come on, that's the most basic of... anyway. It's just a proposal. No, this isn't happening, so... recording 2. Dr. Oliver spread her brains across the office wall with a bullet this morning. You'd have thought that the bosses would have changed their minds about the whole solo therapy thing, but apparently it's still in the rules. Turns out I had the dumb luck of being in London when the sun went wrong. There's no confusion about what is happening, just the whys. If you spend any amount of time in the sunlight, you start to melt. Spend long enough and there's no turning back. God, that really is the new normal. All the people on the radio say the same thing. Nothing's wrong. Come on out and see the sun. James's wife came on the radio today. Begged him to come up. Come on out and see the sun. I jumped back a line there. We had to hold him back, but I don't think it matters anymore. I watched half my team go out last night and melt in the moonlight. This morning they came back and asked us to let him in. I would not be surprised if James ate a bullet before the days. And the welcome message. Something's coming down the stairs. I gotta go. My fellow citizens, if you're hearing this, then the world as we know it has finished. The sun is broken. The ground heaves with the tramp of terrible feet, and all the horror and madness have broken free to exact their vengeance on the world of man. Those who sought to contain it are killed or scattered. We soon learn that to attempt to fight these creatures is almost invariably to face one's death. Billions have been transformed into monstrous abominations, and there is nothing, was nothing we could do to stop them. Evil has raised its bloody flag upon all nations of the world, and crowed its unholy victory to the broken sun. Yes, this is the end. But there is a new hope. Welcome to London. A city of the survivors, a city of the free. Together, fellow citizen, we will wait and prepare for the new beginning, the grand new world that is soon to come. Let the world above burn, we will endure. Let the monsters have their world, we will prepare. And let the ground tremble with a new Armageddon as evil consumes itself. For I tell you, citizen, upon the day of the ruination of man, their insatiable appetites will turn them against one another in their endless lust for death. We will wait. And I tell you, citizen, that there will be a new dawn, and you will emerge from London blinking in the light of an uncorrupted sun, as our children play and laugh in the bones of horrors long dead. And we will walk hand in hand to the sea, our faces skywards, as that rising sun ushers in the new age of man. And you will gather, citizen, at my feet, as I summon London from its rest, and it shall burst phoenix-like from the ashes of the old. And on that day, citizen, there shall be a new order. Someone's, it's fine, it's fine. There shall be a new order as we raise our flag over the entire world. I welcome you to London, the last city, and the first. Intercepted radio signal. James, it's Amelia. I'm not sick anymore. I was at the doctor's office when the light changed us all. Now there is no sickness. I don't know if you can hear me, but you should come upstairs. It's so beautiful here. There's no more hunger, no more war, no more suffering. We are all linked together in harmony, in peace. Your mother is here, your father too. All of us are waiting for you, James. Remember when you proposed? A sunset beach in Botany Bay. The whole world was on pause while you got down on one knee and told me you loved me. You told me you didn't want to live without me, James. Were you lying? James, we miss you so much. The doctor said it was going to be a little boy. Come back to us, James. It's so beautiful here. Recording 3. I don't think they know we're here. Well, shut up then. Because if we don't record something, then no one's gonna know what the fuck happened. Look, I'm doing this. Keep an eye out and don't let them see you. We lost. Hard. After the attack on the entryway, we fell back to Hyde Park's tent city. It was a beautiful little community of the stuffiest men and women you'd ever meet. Supplies would have lasted us a year or two at least. And by then we'd hoped to scrounge some sun lamps from above ground for the carrot and potato seeds. Before things went tits up a second time anyway. We all got about 4 hours of sleep before we woke up screaming. All of us. I remember dreaming about this giant eye looking at me across an endless horizon. It was angry, disappointed. It was so hot I was trying to breathe, and it burned my lungs. Suddenly my clothes caught on fire. I didn't die or even pass out. My skin started to bubble and melt, and the eye looked satisfied. That's when I noticed the thing had eyebrows. How I missed that before, I don't know, but then it was a face. Then a hand came at me from across the horizon, and a flock of pigeons came from behind me and let out this terrible scream. They attacked the hand, pecking it until it was nothing but bone. But it still kept coming. It scooped up the puddle that was me, and brought me to its mouth. Then I woke up. I think the city was trying to warn us. Don't know how this place works, but those stupid pigeon eye things were going crazy in the air above us. They could see it coming even though we couldn't. The men we lost last night knew everything about our defenses. There's a flood of flesh pouring down the stairs now, spreading its way across the city. I don't know how many people made it out of Hyde Park, but it wasn't many. James's leg is a mess, and Elise is out of breath. The only one keeping it together is Kira, and she kinda wants to leave the other two behind. I told her we needed to record another message, and she gave me a look like I was going crazy. Maybe I am, but I'm not leaving Elise behind, and if we kept running those things would have gotten her. I don't know that we can do anything for James, but we're trying. The bleeding has stopped at least. When the attack came, our perimeter defenses didn't trigger, but thankfully we were already awake. We opened fire, but I'm not sure what we thought was going to be accomplished by shooting a giant wave of flesh. It rolled over everything and everyone who didn't run. Kira thinks if we could burn it, we could do some damage, but where the fuck are we going to get fuel down here? The only positive of all this is that the Bobbies were fighting on our side. Felt like how good that did. I thought we were dead, but the speaker crackled to life and that same damn voice has always told us we could find refuge in Parliament. So we're going there now. Get up, James, we gotta move. I hope this isn't the end of our story. So not entirely effective, underground city, but... Public announcement. This city was meant to be a shining beacon in the dark against the fall of the world of man. You mock it. You destroy all that lives and turn it into more of yourself. I give you this one warning. Go back to your corrupted son. There's nothing to be found here but darkness. Your light has no power here. Burn and answer for your crimes, abominations. I cast you into perdition's flame. Recording 4. We had to leave James behind. I think he knew he was going to die. Kira offered to blow his brains out so he wouldn't get taken, but he said he wanted to see his family. I don't know what to make of that, but I hope he's happy now. Kira, Elise, and I made our way to Westminster. I'd never seen so many Bobbies in one place before. They parted just enough for us to make it to the Parliament building. A few days ago I'd been terrified, but it felt comforting. Strange days indeed. Parliament was empty, except for an army of un-London's monster guards. Most of them guarded the door, and a few guided us through the maze inside the building. They weren't there, I swear we'd never have found our way. We came out in a room with a tank at the center large enough to hold a person, but it was empty. Just a slick of liquid along the floor that led to another open door. The Bobbies can't talk, so they just motioned to the door with their hands. I mean, what were we going to do? Run back outside? There was a set of stairs going down here. We could hear the door close behind us, then we heard a loud crash. We arrived at the bottom of the stairs on a sandy beach. There was a little wooden platform with a small steam-powered ship, barely visible in the dark, attached to it with a rope. We could see un-London looming above us, but there was no other way back, except back up the stairs that we'd fled through. There was a mooring for a second boat, but it was long gone. Aerial surveillance of this area last month didn't see the boats, and Kira and I have no idea where they come from. Not that it matters. When someone throws you a life vest, you take it, not quibble over where it came from. We knew there was no other way out, so we climbed aboard. Once we were in the water, and a decent distance away, something burst at the center of the city. The flames burned bright orange and white. The flesh is sizzling and screaming. The whole city is dying, and the monsters with it. If this river is an approximation of the Thames, we should reach open water soon. I honestly think the ship knows where it's going somehow. We barely have to steer at all. Elise found a note in the engine room. It said, "Gather your friends, gather your things, and gather your light. The path to Undublin is dark but ends, and if you can make it, I'll save you a pint." I'm looking forward to taking him up on that. That is the end of that proposal. Or addition to the previous proposal. So that is one way of dealing with the potential apocalypse, but Undublin. It's gotta be out there. But a lot of that requires unlock, Harvin. So, I want you to consider, okay, what we talked about today. The apocalypse. This is just one apocalypse. And one apocalypse where we have a reasonable modicum of control left in the situation. Sometimes we will not have that control. Sometimes these places will not be accessible to us, or we will not be lucky enough to be able to get to them. You can ask a question, yes. What is your query? So the apocalypse happened? That's the antithesis of all that I'm working towards. The apocalypse will happen, but there has to be a way to survive it. What's it like in the future? That's a good question. I guess you'll have to wait and find out. I mean, I'll also have to wait and find out. Because, you know, I don't know. I've never been there. The time is a little... Time. I was already pushing it. How we doing? Oh shit, I'm late. You know what? I think we're gonna have to cut this this educational thing a bit short. What's that mean? Am I losing signal? You still there? I think I fucked up. There's an alarm going off. I'm late for an appointment. I'm gonna have to leave. Hope keep this in mind, okay? Keep all this that I told you today in mind. The apocalypse is gonna come at some point, and you're gonna have to be prepared, and you're gonna have to know how to deal with it. Okay, how do I shut this down? Don't tell anyone about this. This was a normal induction call. I don't have time. Listen, I'll be back at some point, and I'll answer questions then, okay? Best of luck.